Comrades, the feast, I always say the feast is not for Abraham alone. And so the deputy chair will take the proceedings from this point here. Let me hear it for Comrade Sister Rochelle Ford.
Labour family. Labour family. One thing I could tell you, not even a fella from the Grenadines on the other side could put down like how Snaggy and our leader just put down there. Labour family, it is great to be here. Isn't it wonderful to be here? I lost my voice a few days ago. And I said, please, please, Lord, give me my voice. Give me my voice. And this morning, as I was coming in, our chairman said, you're going to have to introduce our political leader. And I do so, and I feel the voice come back, Labour family. I'm feeling a rumbling. I'm feeling a rumbling. Are you feeling the rumbling? Mine is the pleasure to introduce to you our leader. The man with not only the vision, but with the action to back it up. Our Prime Minister has shown confidence in our young people. Young people, let me hear you. He has taken care of the elderly. He has given us housing. How many of us inside here have been recipients of low-income housing? He has taken care of us in terms of education. Let me hear my education revolution, babies. We've had improvements in tourism. How many cruise ships you see coming in? Is every day cruise ship after cruise ship. And you know something? We all know that there is an economic crisis in the world. But we can brag and boast in St. Vincent and the Grenadines under the leadership of Ralph Gonsalves that never 1 month has a civil servant not been paid. Our Prime Minister is a man who loves people. He loves St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He loves each and every one of us. He believes in us, and likewise, we believe in him. I give you our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves.
We're coming in stronger than ever. I said, Labour, army, army is a nation of we standing up with the comrade. Nobody can move way. On the road to progress, we must tread. This Labour pride, we can't lose it. So let me fight them with love, win them with love, beat them with love. We're moving forward. So everybody take out all your rocks and let me jump into Labour. Army, army is a nation of red. It's time for we move to the future. Time for we stand up and shine.
Comrades and friends of Labour who are gathered here, and those who are listening in their homes, those who are at the hospital, the clinics across this country, the police officers in their respective stations, persons who are now coming from church, and some of whom we'll see a little later. We hail you up today on the day that the Lord has made. It is a wonderful day, a beautiful morning. We must be happy. We must be joyful. We rejoice in it. On your behalf, I want to welcome the members of the Diplomatic Corps who are present here and their spouses. I also want to welcome all the members of the media. I want to welcome the specially invited guests. You know, when you watch labor in its aggregation, when we watch labor in its convention, we get to understand why is it that you can't beat labor when election time comes. We have people from all classes and groups and ages. And we bring people from the other side who are reasonable, because we talk a lot of sense. We have a compelling developmental narrative. We have the detailed policies and programs. And we seek always to unite our people. And we don't go about discriminating against anyone. We show labor love. And even when sometimes we may be hurt because of what some on the other side have been saying about us, but we pay no mind to that really. We take it in our stride. We answer them where we have to answer them, but we have no malice in our heart. And we have been able to unite people and groups across all classes and gender and ages. And that has made us, that unification of all groups, all classes, all genders, all ages. That is why we have become, and indeed we are, the natural party of governance. And we are just 3 months short of 18 years in office. A historical feat that no other political party before us has been able to accomplish.
Progress, which means the leader is very blessed, who behaving like the power possessed.
We met this country in a terrible condition. And we have been able to make immense progress across all areas. And we have a path forward for further advancement in the interest of the people. And that is why at this convention today, we have to talk about charting the way, clearing the path for 5 in a row.
I voted Labor, and so did my neighbor.
We have made immense immense progress by dint of the nature of our policies, the quality of the persons whom we have in government. We have worked in communion with one another and with our friends overseas. And this small country has achieved large things for the nation as a whole, for individual families and people within the families. But there is still a lot to be done. We have taken it when it was in a mess. We have cleaned up the mess. We have impressive accomplishments. But we must acknowledge that there are people in our country, including many of our supporters, who are still hurting. And it is our duty to make sure, our obligation to make sure that we have policies further in place and to implement what we have done before better, so that we can reduce to the point of extinction the hurt by some of our people, not just Labour people, but the people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have to acknowledge in humility our tremendous achievements, but to say nevertheless that we have more to do. And what we are required to do is to walk justly, to love mercy, to love goodness, and to walk humbly with our God. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not a country endowed with oil or natural gas. We have no gold or silver or diamonds. We are 110,000 people. We are one of the smallest countries in the world. We have a small domestic market for our goods and services which we produce. We have accomplished a great deal in the education revolution, but we still have a shortage of certain important skills, and we have to develop them more. So, this land, which is blessed, we have challenges. We don't have as much money as we would like to have. We don't have as much land as we would like to have. We are 150 square miles. In terms of agricultural land available, it's about just under 20,000 acres. The whole country is 90,000 acres. But when you take away 1/3 for the forest, you take away for the homes and other buildings, and all the facilities which we have built, we have 20,000 acres, just under. So we have to use those 20,000 acres in the best way possible. Nobody owes us a living. Nobody at all. They can help us, but we have to help ourselves most of all. These are sobering messages. We don't have as a leadership and as a people, our feet firmly planted in the sky. Our feet are on terra firma. And in addition to the challenges which we have, material challenges, we are a vulnerable country. We are vulnerable to natural disasters and the increasingly damning climate change. We have seen over the recent years that we have had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to repair bridges, build them over. Between 2014 and 2017, we had to rebuild 15 of them. 4 of them down in North Leeward in a small area. 5 of them between Byra Hill and Basin Hole in Monbendick. We have had to rebuild roads. We had to rebuild houses. Millions of dollars. And we get a lot of promises from advanced nations which create the climate change, contribute to global warming. We don't. But yet we are on the front lines. We are the ones who are suffering the harm and the pain and the damage. And this matter is a matter of existential significance for our people, for our country. Many of you who are old enough will know the extent to which the land is being eroded by the sea. We see the beaches going, but we need the beaches for our tourism. So the challenges are many. Do not allow anyone to come with you any story of milk and honey. Just get rid of Ralph, and we will sell passports and citizenship, and everything will be hunky-dory. You know that that is not true. And some of the people who are talking that are persons who haven't tried ditching and fetching, and on the way to the poorhouse, they take up politics. Some of them, some recent ones, we all know how thief they are. So thief, you give them a chance, they thief milk out of cocoa tea. Don't think for one moment that the Labour people and the nation don't know them. When they talk, I simply say to myself, fool a talk, but a fool a listen. And if they believe that the Labour machine is not oiled and ready for them, they have another guest coming.
5 more years back in government.
Or division now program.
5 more years back in government.
And this party and this nation, we have survived and thrived because of the hard work and smart work across this land. Under the suzerainty of Almighty God. And I would listen from time to time the radio stations, and I will hear how our warriors take them on. Everybody want to know, who is this woman, Miss Murphy? Miss Murphy there? Where Miss Murphy there? Miss Murphy, you there? Come up here, girl. Come up here, let us see you. Come up here, let us see you. Come up here, girl. Come up, let us see you.
In your country, I see you making progress in exports.
Come up, let the comrade them see you, girl. They know your voice. They know the clarity with which you represent the message. There are others we could call to, you know. But I think we all know Miss Murphy. Please, 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 comrade sister.
Comrade, we will be voting you till you're 70 and more. Oh. And in our hearts, we forever grateful will always be.
Her first name is Dorothy, you know. You all had a song there by Stalin in Dorothy. You got Stalin song? Eh? You got Stalin there, boy? Master Blaster? You got Stalin? Dorothy? This is a magnificent Dorothy. You can't find it? I catch you on the waist there, yeah? So that we haven't set the scene, the framework. We have to now emphasize, acknowledge not only the limitations which I have mentioned, but our possibilities. You have some people who are just about limitations. We are not of that school. We said to you, what are the challenges? But you notice over the last 18 years, we have been grappling with those challenges successfully and achieving monumental things for the people. And that is done because of the possibilities in us. The first and most glorious of the possibilities is our ability as individuals to come to terms with our environment, our circumstances, and make a good and decent living. And that is why we have emphasized the education revolution. And here among you, there are many persons in their 40s and 50s and above who have not gone to any school other than the primary school. But in their houses, they have graduates from the community college and the universities.
I applaud you, Mr. Prime Minister. I applaud you for this.
And it is a marvel what we together have achieved. When we embarked on the education revolution, by way of an example, they said, where are you going with that? Ralph put people picking in board school. But you saw the vision. And the women in particular knew that this is something which would lift up their children and empower them and their families. And they grasped it. They grasped the education revolution with both hands. And with all the challenges, they have not buckled, despite some people want to traduce the education revolution. Some whom we have financed, the government, lifted them up, the ULP government, and then they want to kick down the proverbial pail of milk because they don't want anybody else to get it, because they themselves haven't been elevated with a degree. They want something else for themselves. They feel that they have arrived because they have a degree. Well, a degree only helps you to work smarter and harder. And we will talk about some of that a little later. I give that by way of example. So we, the people we have, are the fulcrum of our possibilities. And then we have the land. Small acreage as it is. But you know, we produce a lot of our own food. And as Sabota pointed out, we are importing less food than before because we are growing more food locally at competitive prices. We are self-sufficient in pork. I don't want any Rastaman or woman to contradict. We are selling Grenada every 3 months, every 4 months, 100 and 120 head of cattle. We are improving our agriculture and our fisheries, and we have bountiful seas. Those we have as possibilities. And then the use of technology, including information technology, to help us to negotiate ourselves in this complicated world and prepare ourselves better for this 21st century, which is very challenging. But to do all of those things, you have to have a compelling narrative for the way forward. A compelling developmental narrative. How do you begin this? You begin it with a vision. A people-centered vision. That whatever we do, it focuses on the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and their development. The first thing. You have a vision, but you must also have a philosophy. A philosophy of life, living, production, and governance. And that philosophy, which we have in our own circumstances, fashioned, evolved, is a philosophy of social democracy, appropriate to our circumstances, in which we make sure that our governance is democratic, that we protect and enhance people's individual rights and freedoms, that we marry a tripartite economic sector of the private sector, the cooperative sector, and the state in a harmonious whole. Not in an ideological manner, abstractly, but in a practical way, which links to us at our stage of development and where we want to go. And as a grounding in that philosophy, we reaffirm that our nation is founded on the belief in the supremacy of God and the freedom and dignity of man and woman. And while we reaffirm that, in other words, it is part of us, which we have done it over and over, so we reaffirm. But we also affirm that we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are part of a magnificent Caribbean civilization, an alive part. That this civilization has a legitimacy historically. That through the fever of history, we have built this society where we are metaphorically a symphony. We are the songs of the indigenous people, the Kalinago and the Garifuna. We are the rhythm of Africa. We are the melody of Europe. We just saw an African expression in dance and drums from Union Island. We are the rhythm of Africa. We are the melody of Europe. We are the chords of Asia. And we are the homegrown lyrics of the Caribbean. And from time to time, as in all symphonies, we will find dissonance. We will find differences. But this dissonance, we sort out for ourselves. And nobody from outside must come and interfere with us as to how we are sorting out our differences. No big power anywhere at all. We can do this thing ourselves.
We are a chosen generation. All but to show
and this component of our magnificent Caribbean civilization doesn't arrive only at this point. It has a trajectory for further development, further enhancement, and ennoblement to be better than we are. At the same time, we must never believe that anybody is better than us, even though we are not better than anybody. Nobody is better than us. We are our own Vincentian and Caribbean people with a majesty of history and a trajectory for further development. When you have that confidence, I can tell the young people to soar like eagles with your wings on clip. That nothing is too difficult for you to attain. You can go for it. You can shoot for the stars. Keep your feet on the ground and shoot for the stars. And that is the case in whatever activity you are, whether you are a student, whether you're an architect, a manufacturer, somebody in farming, or somebody in the news business. Nobody could hold you back. Don't let anybody put limits on your own imagination and your capacity to do better. I am giving you here today the pathway for you to internalize and lay the basis as we go to the people and say a fifth term, 5 in a row. At the heart of our compelling developmental narrative in economic terms is that we are on a quest to build a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy, which is at once national, regional, and global. Every one of those words is pregnant with real meaning for our way forward. Modern and competitive. We have to use science and technology, just like how Saboto negotiated with the European Union with the banana company in measures, where millions of dollars are spent up at Montreal Gardens with that fantastic facility for fruits and vegetables. In the way in which we link with foreign investors in cocoa and coffee, and the way in which we ourselves will do with medicinal cannabis by ourselves and in conjunction with investors and people with technology to come. Because since 1763, when the British assumed suzerainty of this country, from then to now, we have had 4 agricultural commodities of dominance: sugar, arrowroot, cotton, and bananas. And each of them has had to be subsidized either at the production level or at the marketing level. The last of them is bananas. In this post-colonial world, where nobody owes us a living, we have to be modern and we have to be competitive. And we have to stand on our feet and make our commodities be competitive in price and quality and with a sufficiency of supply to sell to the regional and the international market. And it has to be many-sided, because we have to have tourism of all different types, and agriculture and fisheries and manufacturing and information technology services and financial services and cultural industries. That's why we name Rodney Small to be the coordinator of cultural industries, not just to promote culture, but to make culture a basis on which people can make a livelihood. And while we have also appointed to help him our comrade from Lowman's Hill, Bomani. Now, that is the economic quest. And then we have to make sure that we work in the region and globally. And that is why we are in the OECS and we are in CARICOM. And that is why recently in Ghana, I proposed the establishment of an ABCD Commission, an Africa, Brazil, Caribbean and Diaspora Commission for matters of trade, economic linkages, education, health, transportation, air and sea. And you may say, Ralph, where are you going with that? Africa has 1.3 billion people, 54 countries. Brazil is 210 million people. The closest place to West Africa is Brazil. When I want to go to Ghana, I had to go north to England and come south to Ghana. You can go across easier from Brazil to Ghana. And Brazil, half of the population of Brazil is of African descent. And then the Caribbean I define as the 25 countries washed by the Caribbean Sea, independent states, and also the South American mainland, including countries like Mexico and Colombia and Venezuela and Panama and Costa Rica and Nicaragua and Honduras. That whole arc is 230 million people. And the African diaspora in North America is about 45 million people. You check it up, you talk about 1.7 billion people. I'm not saying that they mustn't have, and we mustn't have the links with America and Canada and Europe and Asia, China and India. But this is an area of functioning where we must build the ABCD Commission. And the president of Ghana embraced the initiative and asked me to follow through on it with the other countries in this particular ABCD, proposed ABCD Commission. And whilst you have all that, we have to have the detailed policies in every single area of economic, social, and political and governance. And then under the policies, we have the programs. So you may have a policy to deepen regional integration, but the programs will address, for instance, the question of freedom of movement. You will have the program to improve physical infrastructure, but the detail will be to build roads in particular places to enhance access. Are you with me? And all of what I'm outlining here has its basis in our economic, social and economic plan, National Development Plan, from 2012 to 2025. And I have added more today, and I will add more, because this is a living document. And that is why when they ask Eustace in New York about his plan, ask Ralph. Still ask Ralph. Still ask me. Because we have it crystal clear. Now, we therefore, over the years, can see where we had advanced in the economy, job and wealth creation, fiscal consolidation, financial and monetary stability, education, health, housing, airports, and civil aviation, not only the international airport, but the jet airport in Taiwan. By the way, this week, see initiatives unfolding before your eyes in connection with what I've just outlined. Tomorrow and on Tuesday in Parliament, we debate the bills relating to medical cannabis. That's Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, Caribbean Airlines arrives at Argyle International. It's coming there every Wednesday. On Thursday, Air Canada comes again for this season and for the whole year round. On Saturday, American Airlines with its inaugural flight out of Miami. And on Sunday, Sunwing is coming out of Canada, and all of those planes are full with people. Did somebody say that on Monday the 17th we have in general election? Because from the very beginning, the opposition opposed the international airport. They said that Ralph was a crazy man. They said that is the clear evidence that he's crazy. And their advice was that I check in by the mental hospital, the psychiatric hospital. And they say, just don't go in there voluntarily. Ask to see the chief psychiatrist, Dr. Debnat. Because you're mad. What happened on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday? Does he walk up a madman? You see, they don't got a vision. They don't got a vision.
Ralph is the man with the vision. Ralph, you can.
Now, what we have done with roads and bridges, social security and social safety nets, poverty and undernourishment, what we have done in respect of youth and women, sports and culture, citizen security, with the police, the Coast Guard, the regional security system, where we have deepened democracy, make our government more responsive and responsible to the people, take special care in the Grenadines, North Windward, North Leeward, establish the regional integration diaspora unit, and the work we have done in regional integration and foreign policy. Now, you know, it's interesting. I see the opposition the other day went to China. Now, they went to China. I didn't listen to the press conference. But you know, when I don't listen to something, I have people tape it and type it out to me. So I have it here. I ain't getting careless, you know. I got all my marbles. I got plenty juice in me. Juice they ain't know about yet. By the way, I'm going to test the energy, you know. I'm going back to the Chinese issue. You know, between tomorrow and the 31st, I have a schedule for them in Parliament. They're going to bawl like cattle. You want me to tell you what I have for them? I have 12 bills of great importance. to be dealt with. The medical cannabis bill, the cannabis cultivation amnesty bill, the permitted use of cannabis for religious purposes bill, the drugs prevention and misuse amendment bill, the child justice bill, the income tax amendment bill, the advanced cargo information bill, the public procurement bill, the automatic exchange and financial account information common reporting standards amendment bill, the Mount Twin Hotel project loan authorization bill, the International Business Companies Amendment Bill, and the International Trust Amendment Bill. You hear me? All of them. Very substantive. I want to see if they could take the pressure. I want to see if the lazy man them and lazy woman them could take the pressure. You know, mouth don't run government, you know. His activity is real serious activity. And in all of these bills are important public policies to advance the interests of the people. All of them. And in between those dates, the cabinet and all the departments, we will be working on finalizing the estimates of expenditure and revenue for the year 2019 and the budget, because we will go on the 23rd of January to present the estimates, and Camilo will present the budget on the 29th of January. You see a work schedule? And none of them men here in the cabinet going button. Not one of them. And I have my energies renewed and refreshed like the eagle. Fellas, when the NDP them work 2 hours, they want to go home. And I want to demonstrate to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that though Christmas is a time when we must celebrate, especially the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th, I want you to know, just like how I started here by saying we have to work hard and smart, I want to show you that even over this season, your government will be working hard and smart as if it just come to office. So, Friday goes to China. First questions. I'm coming to the substance of the issues. But Friday hasn't opened his mouth and tell us who paid for the airfare for the 4 of them. I want openness and transparency on that. I want openness and transparency on that. What did you fly? I know you didn't go economy. Tell us whether you went business class or first class. You got to tell me that. Tell me how much each ticket costs and who pay for it. The people them in China pay for it? Or the man them, including people in China, who want to sell our passport and our citizenship? Is them pay for you go to China? Tell us. Listen, a business class ticket to China. Ain't easy money, you know. Their passage alone is several tens of thousands of dollars. And they had to say, as a political party, they put you up for free. They're not government, you know, where you have state-to-state relations. Nobody asked that question. The journalists ask a lot of sensible questions, you know. I have what all they ask. But nobody had the presence of mind. No. They can ask everything. Don't pull down the journalists for that. But they come right asking. Because you want to know who pay for it. Because I will tell you this. The NDP don't even have money to pay doggy the freighters. The NDP to go, you think NDP got money for pay passage for 4 people? To go China? You hear what I'm telling you? And the piper who pay for you to go to Taiwan, to China to dance, is them calling the tune? Eh? Or you going to sell out? With citizenship and with passport? Eh? So that, what they're talking about now in Europe, that way you can go to Europe now without a visa. That they're talking about for the other countries with selling passport and citizenship. They're saying that they're thinking about taking away the visa too there from them. You hear me? Now, who did they go and talk to? I don't know. The journalists also didn't ask. They said that they went, Friday said that they were hosted by the China Zhigong Party. Z-Z-H-I-G-O-N-G Party. China's Zhigong Party is one of 8 so-called parties and organizations which work alongside with the Communist Party of China and follow the dictates of the Communist Party of China. I'm not making anything against the Communist Party of China or mainland China, you know. We have relations with Taiwan. But if you're going to China, talk to the main man them. Talk to the main man and woman. Now let them send you to some little intermediary to Susu. Yeah. They keep them in the outhouse. Not inside of the metaphoric White House. Yeah. You hear me? You think, you see the picture with all the flowers and you see him drinking wine with a Chinese man. That ain't no money from the China Zhigong Party, you know. That come from the Communist Party of China. Because they themselves will tell you they work under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. They have 8 such organizations, you know. China, mainland China, is a one-party system. But they got them other 8 play party for when people like Friday come by. For send them go talk to them. So. I come into his boast about all the big investments. Let me tell you the names. The Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang. Well, the Kuomintang left China in 1949 and set up the government in Taiwan. So what you call a Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang is a small group of people who play in politics. You have to know what is happening to lead, you know. You have to follow what is happening in the world. The second one is called the Taiwan Democratic Self-Government League. The only self-government organizations for Taiwan of any merit are the political parties in Taiwan, not an organization, a flim-flam group allied to the Communist Party of China. Mind you, I'm not saying anything against mainland China or the Communist Party of China. All I'm saying, if you establish links with them, go and see the FA. If you really in the big league, go talk to the FA. Talk to some. The fella who heads the Chinese Zigong Party, they gave him a little job as Minister of Science and Technology. You hear me? The third organization they have, China National Democratic Construction Association. It's like an NGO. Fourth one, China Association for Promoting Democracy. Fifth, Chinese Peasants and Workers Democratic Party. The sixth, China Democratic League. Seventh, the Jiusan Society, Jiusan Society. And the last one is the China Zigong Party. The NDP got more members in St. Vincent than the China Zigong Party in China, where you have 1.3 billion people. It's a flunky group. Flunky and flaky. You remember the day, the Saturday before the 2010 elections, when USAS had a press conference about 2 o'clock one afternoon. The election was on Wednesday. Open my brown manila envelope and say, got all these projects. None like them was inside of the manifesto. Is SCL, Strategic Communications Laboratory, and Henley and Partners, the passport group, they were the ones who told Eustace he had to talk them things. They send it for him. Eustace was reading haltingly in the way in which Friday was talking haltingly about investments. And just like when Eustace them couldn't name anybody who are the investors, Friday can't do that either. Because it's a fraud being perpetrated on the public. And I want to make this point here. Friday said, it's only if you establish relations with mainland China that mainland Chinese businessman and woman will come here. It's a lie. Because right now, let me tell you this. The mainland Chinese don't need visas to come to St. Vincent. The Taiwanese don't need it, and the mainland Chinese don't need it. I'm not getting involved myself with that quarrel. And the mainland Chinese have business people here functioning. In fact, you have more mainland Chinese business people here than Taiwanese business people right now in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In restaurant, in dry goods, in information technology and the like. You hear what I'm telling you? And you know why that could happen? Because mainland China and Taiwan and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we all belong to the World Trade Organization. The mainland Chinese may argue about whether they should be part of the World Health Organization or the International Civil Aviation Organization. But the mainland Chinese ain't dotish, you know. They call themselves communists, but they love plenty money. And Taiwan got plenty money. And Taiwan and mainland China do a lot of trade. And a lot of investments from Taiwan exist in mainland China. Let us have a mature understanding of a complicated subject. Not this foolishness that Friday and Terence Oliver and Ben Exeter. I also want to know, is it true that the journey was a little too much for Eustace? That he came off, they had to give him a stretcher to go from the airport to the hospital. And when he come back in St. Vincent, they had to give him a wheelchair to go from the air. Answer them questions, you know. I don't talk about plenty things. I choose what I talk about, but you see at this convention, I talking about plenty things today. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. Now, our relations with mainland China, we work together in the Caribbean Development Bank, in the World Bank, in the International Monetary Fund, in the Group of 77 and China. But we have diplomatic relations with the Republic of China, Taiwan, because we have had excellent relations with them since 1980. And we don't intend to change those relations because we find that they are productive for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But I ain't pulling down mainland China. But what I tell you, you gotta be smart to deal with them, you know. The mainland Chinese. You see that school at West St. George? We borrowed the money from the World Bank. And several companies bid. The three main companies were two mainland Chinese companies. They could bid because they are members of the World Bank. One bid $5 million lower than the other one. And there was a regional company which bid about $500,000 over the second company. But what they do? They said they know that it will take time. So one bid lower to see if they can get the contract. But by the time we were ready to start, between the World Bank and ourselves, they said, the bid which we put in, we're going to need more money because the thing take too long. And they say they can't bother staying it anymore. Well, the rule will be, if they can't stay in it, you go for the second one, which is about $5 million more. But I'm a man on the street. I'm a roots man. I asked Laura Anthony Brown, the director of planning, I said, check out for me. And I said, I will bet anything that the same people who own the company which bid the lowest is the same people who own the company which bid the next. And it's the same city that own both of them. So they do their each way bet now. I had to applaud them, they come in, you know. They come in. And I am blaming them. But you got to have that street smarts to deal with that. And I told the World Bank, well, since the lowest bidder wants more money, and the second one is too high, let us start afresh. It will take us another year. But I was prepared to wait, or they don't know if I was bluffing. Then the lowest one come back and say, well, let me talk, see if we could make a little adjustment. And that's how that was built. You hear me, comrade? You hear me, Maury? So, let it go ahead. And these 8 organizations, including the one that called itself a party, they are pledged to follow the political line of the Communist Party of China. And I have no problem with that. But don't come back here and tell me you have all this investment to bring. And he said, education. We are 70 people at the moment in Taiwan studying. We have about 150 already. In addition to these 70, another 80, so making 150. So what's going to happen? When you break relations and you establish with Taiwan, with our mainland China, what's going to happen to our 70 students? Huh? You're going to pay for them? Because the Taiwanese will say, well, you don't have any relations with us anymore, take back your students. You see, and anytime you have a break in the relations, these things happen. Fool a talk, not fool a listen. Now, I want to draw your attention to how we have been performing. You saw the recent IMF report. The IMF report says in paragraph 1 that the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is recovering. Paragraph 2, the outlook for growth, for economic growth, is positive. Well, them 2 paragraphs send the NDP and Jerry George crazy. They say it's 2 set a book we keep. That's what they say, you know. 2 set a book. You think you could keep 2 set a book with the central bank? and with the International Monetary Fund. The truth of the matter is this, is that we had economic growth in 2001 to 2007 inclusive. When the global downturn took place in 2008, we got negative growth in 2008, 2009, and 2010. And 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, we have had marginal to modest economic growth. And this year, the economic growth was 2%. We want it bigger. 2%. And for 2019, it's forecast to be above that number.
Never lost my way. Never turn full when I reach out the crossroad. Never lost my way. Never see the hype and get confused.
Now, between 2000 and between the year 2000 and 2017, we have had over 6,000 more persons employed. In fact, the census showed that between 2001 and 2012, when the other census was taken, we had over 6,000 more persons employed. And that is confirmed by the data from the NIS. The insured population at the NIS in the year 2000 was 32,094 persons. In 2017, at the end of 2017, was 38,110. And the NIS estimates that between 75 and 80% of those who are employed are registered with the NIS. Because a lot of domestics not registered with the NIS. Some people in construction work, some people who drive the minibus, them agricultural workers, and the like. The number of people who benefited as pensioners in 2000 at the NIS was 2,940. At the end of last year was 7,169. You see the numbers? The average pension increased weekly from $44.27 to $149.79. The total pension payment was $6.5 million in 2000. The total pension payment in 2017 was $50.82 million. So when I hear people talk, including some pensioners who get in the benefits, it's 4 times we increase pensions, 4 times. And in all the years for the NDP, they increase it 1 time.
Never let go. I never let go. God will never let me down.
When we look at the numbers, let's take the amount of money the government spends on keeping the government operating annually. In 2001, the recurrent expenditure was $251 million. In 2018, $612 million. You hear me? All the things which you see happening. You may say, well, Ralph, what about how the teachers and everybody doing? In 2001, compensation for employees was $142 million. In 2008, $303 million. You hear me? the pensions for civil servants was $14.6 million in 2001. This year is $60 million. You see why we have to work hard and smart? Now, you take education. Primary education in 2001, $29.4 million. Primary education in 2018, $46 million. Although the student population fell in the primary school by 6,000. The reason for that, lower birth rate, and also senior 1, 2, and 3, they gone inside of the secondary school because of universal secondary education. So in 2001, it cost per student $1,500 a year to educate them in the primary school. In 2018, $3,500. And there are some teachers who are complaining. And I have no problem with complaints if they are reasonable. And let me say straight off, if the toilet not working in a school, I have no problem with you sending the children home until Bragsa fix it. But at Lowman's leeward is a bottle somebody put down inside of the toilet. What block it, you know? You hear me? And down at Union Island, it's some watchman I'm been advised, Snaggy, who went there and use or misuse. Some fella anyway go and misuse the toilet, which Bragsa took when Bragsa came down with you and Jimmy Friday. Took them a short while and fix up. Isn't that so, Snaggy? But the teachers take the children and put them out in the hot sun. Well, if the toilet is blocked because of misuse or because it has a problem of some kind, send the children home. We're going to put them in the hot sun for. But I want to tell you this. In the 1990s, the NDP built a primary school in Union Island named the Mary Hutchinson Primary School. You know, we had to abandon that school because of the cracks. Imagine a school built in the 1990s. Who built that? A baker? A candlestick maker? And it's after we build a brand new secondary school in Campbell, in Union Island, costing nearly $14 million, that we had to move the primary school from Mary Hutchinson, which is falling apart, and put it in the old secondary school, which Milton K. to them had built in the early 1970s. That's the problem, you know. So the school they're talking about is an old school. But hear me this. No teacher in Bekwe, not one of them, at the primary school, which was a wattle and dirt, wattle and dab primary school covered over with cement. Mitchell was the representative there for 17 years, and the children had a pit toilet, which they were using all those years, and not a teacher complained about it. That one of them take the pick near them out of school. You hear me? And we built a brand new multi-million-dollar primary school in Beckwith. Remember, I'm not excusing that any toilet should not be in proper order. But if you have 61 primary schools and 26 secondary schools, from time to time you will have one or two or three which may have a problem. You hear me? But all you need to do is to get Bragsa to come. And if the day things are difficult, you send the children home for the half day or whatever the case may be in an orderly and proper manner. But when the NDP had their convention, when they had a convention up at Lauders, Greg's, thank you very much. When they had it there, and they leave the place nasty and stink, and the outside, the portable toilet them for 3 days in the hot sun. Them could talk to anybody. That kind of nastiness they could talk to anybody. I'll tell you this. The secondary schools in 2001, the government spent $7.5 million on secondary education. In 2018, we spent $39.34 million. You hear the difference? 7.5 in 2001. Over $39 million in 2018. In the Ministry of Health, in 2001, nearly $40 million. In 2018, $72.5 million. I am showing you with facts and figures illustrating what I spoke about earlier, about the manner in which we have improved things. But still, we have more to do. Because you know that in your family, if you are my age, you might have moved from Watlandab and Pit Toilet until you come to Board House. And then you come to Wall House. It might be hall and chamber. And then you get 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, because there's always improvement which we have to make. That is the way of progress which we have made. Not the kind of hypocrisy and lies parroted by the New Democratic Party.
Why should I worry? Why should I fear? When me left on the burden, in on the father's care.
I want to draw your attention to salaries in the public service. I have the numbers here. I have the numbers. Bear with me. The salaries for public servants, on an average, since 2001, have moved from over 60% to in excess of 100%, depending on the job. And that the question you have to ask, well, what about the value of the money? You discount that by 1/3 because the inflation rate is by about 1/3. So you're seeing that the civil servants and the teachers and the police, and I do not begrudge them because they were very much underpaid and I'd like to pay them even more. But they have done very well under this government, and that is why they support this government. But you got one or two of them who really ungrateful. You got one or two of them. The number of them who want to become chief education officer and permanent secretary. And if they can't get that, they want to be Your Excellency at some mission somewhere. That's what they're fighting for, you know, instead of trying to teach people children. Some of them, the bulk of them, by far, are doing their job and doing their job well. And I want to thank the teachers and the public servants and the police.
Chatty, chatty, Mount Amasi, mix up. Why you don't leave people business?
You take similarly among the teachers, between 66% increase and 90%, depending on the category. I got the figures here. I don't want to go through each of them in detail with you. The police is the same thing. The salaries of the constables, their starting salary is approximately 100% more now than when we came to office in 2001. The salary for the staff nurses is 77% higher now than they were in 2001. And I want the nurses them to get even more money. But when you hear them talk, you will hear that the government is wicked. But I am giving you the facts and I'm giving you the figures. And then well, you know, electricity, we have 98% of the people. And you know, we're doing the geothermal and the solar, the $100 million the geothermal project, US. Water. You turn on your tap. 99.9% of the time you turn on your tap, you get water. High quality water and the cheapest water in the Caribbean. Look. We did the $23 million capital project at the Windward Water Project. That was completed in 2006. But since then, we have spent another $23 million increasing the water supply. We increased the water supply, the storage by 30%, from 4 million gallons in 2006 to 5.2 million gallons in 2015. You might know it. But we put in a 500,000 gallon storage additional at Majorca, 100,000 gallon in Layu, 20,000 gallon in Fancy, 250,000 gallon in Perseverance in North Windward, 20,000 gallons at Airy Hill in Belmont, 20,000 gallons at Acres, 50,000 gallons at Mamoon in St. Andrew, 200,000 gallons at the Jack Hill Rose Hall storage tank. You see what we're doing? We're providing quality water for people. And also in North Leeward, 500,000 gallons at the Belial storage tank. And Gomery, as you know, this year they're working on the 250,000 storage gallon at Sandy Bay, costing $1.5 million. When I hear they say that they didn't put water in Sandy Bay, well, Gomery correct them with that all the time. Just last month, we did 2 facilities with hydro in South Rivers and down at Richmond, where we invested $20 million to improve the efficiency of the hydro plants. All those things we are doing. Every year, the Water Authority and Vinlec break even and put something aside. In Barbados, the Water Authority owes 500 million Barbadian dollars. All through these islands, they owe in money. We have been running our water authority properly since 2001.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Same thing with the electricity company. Then, you remember in 2001, the only place which used to collect garbage was in Kingston and the environs. By October in 2001, we collected garbage from all over St. Vincent at least once a week, and in the Grenadines twice a week. I am talking about all these things which we have done well. No. And in areas we have a targeted intervention. The YES program, the SET program, Zero Hunger Trust Fund. All those, the NDP oppose, the Farmer Support Company, the school feeding program, which is a best practice in the Eastern Caribbean, pediatric care with the World Pediatric Project, home help for the elderly, the low-income housing, material distribution, 100% mortgage for public servants, teachers, and police. Right now, this Christmas, we have a road cleaning program going on with over 6,000 people working, $3 million. We just took on 160 set workers. We just take on temporarily 115 workers at the port. The Christmas barrels, you're going to have about 20,000 Christmas barrels this year, matching the numbers last year. Duty free. You notice everywhere we go, we are trying to help the poor and the disadvantaged, and at the same time to help to develop the country as a whole. But still I say we have much more to do. I hear they have attacked now. Since a couple of women gone on the NDP platform. The first thing I want to ask the women them who talking about NDP, especially those in front, when you meet them, and the journalist must ask them, how much do you pay your domestic worker who is a woman? You hear me? You allow them to drink from the same glass and the cup like you? Or you have a Taiwan at an cup outside by a pipe? Eh? I want them to talk to me about them thing there. In this country, the women are advancing magnificently, and we're providing protection for them legislatively in relation to violence. And we have just opened a special unit for sexual offenses in the police force. When we have now approximately 90% of the children between the ages of 3 and under 5 at nursery, you don't think that is a woman question too? Because the women them can go to work, because they leave their children. The place is open at 7:30. You can leave your children and pick them up at 5 o'clock, which is how we're doing it. You have 0 maternal deaths in this country. 70% of our students at university are women. 65% of our students at the community college are women. The female labor participation rate has increased from 41.2% in 1980 to 56% in 2012. You know, you have more women employed in government now than before, 56%, as against 49% in 2001. All of these things are happening. More than half of the permanent secretaries are women. The DPP is a woman, the UN ambassador is a woman. Ambassador to the USA is a woman. Their deputies in the UK, Cuba, Venezuela missions are women. The registrar of the High Court is a woman. The registrar of SIPO is a woman. The chief medical officer is a woman. The hospital administrator is a woman. The deputy hospital administrator is a woman. The chief magistrate is a woman. The president of the family court is a woman. The attorney general for 17 years was a woman. The accountant general is a woman. You want me to go on? The chief fisheries officer is a woman. The supervisor of election is a woman. The past one is a woman. And so on and so on. In my office as Prime Minister, there is only one man in addition to me in that office. One man, and he is a junior clerk. The women are making strides. Most of the houses, women have title to them. The over 4,500 lots of land distributed, Gomi will tell you that most of them are women. But one of the things that I want the trade unions to do is to organize the domestic workers. Because there's a big group of women. And many of them, people take advantage of them. Because you see, you have this man Ralph. I'm a feminist. I believe in the advancement of women. I believe in the advancement of women in all material ways. But you have some women call themselves feminists. They are biological feminists. That is to say, they don't like man at all. You have some like that. And then you have another group who I call bourgeois feminists. They don't want to associate with working class women. They don't want to associate with peasant women. They don't want to associate with domestic and cleaners. No, they don't want to do that. They got their nose high up in the air. You ain't good enough for them. And they say they're talking for you. Talking for you what? They want to climb up on your back, metaphorically, to advance themselves. Well, I'm waiting for all of them. I'm waiting for all of them. Now, I was recently abroad. And I will tell you this. I was recently abroad. And when I went to England, I collect a lot of information about the people with passports who want to buy our citizenship and passport. And they are financing an ongoing campaign against your leader. It is now no longer an issue that they want to get rid of Ralph and the ULP in order to get St. Vincent passport and citizenship to sell. They still want that. But they say they want my scalp. It is now a personal matter. Because the ULP stopped them from winning in 2001. And we stopped them on SCL in 2010 and in 2015. So I spoke to people who spoke to the people in SCL and spoke to the people who want to sell our passports. And they say that the main man, say in relation to Ralph now, is personal. Well, I had long suspected that. Long suspected that. Well, they will get another chance again. And there are some people, some financiers of the NDP, some crazies in the NDP, some fanatics. They want not just to remove Ralph. They're looking for anything, anywhere. They want to jail Ralph. And I am telling you, some even want to kill Ralph. I'm not saying that lightly. Well, you can't beat me in an election because the people ain't going to allow you. You can't jail me because I ain't doing anything wrong for anybody to jail me in any case. You can't jail me, as a court will have to jail me. And since I ain't doing nothing wrong, illegal, you ain't gonna get no chance. You can dream. But I am mortal. and you could get me. The other day, some NDP people on radio were celebrating a man who has been to jail in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for all sorts of things. You know, I never talk publicly about this. They start this thing over 10 years ago. There's this fella whom the NDP want to proclaim as some kind of a gargon. The security forces came to me one day with an allied agency from overseas. They said that so-and-so was recruiting a Puerto Rican to kill you. And the person who was doing it was a man from the Dominican Republic, whom the security agency overseas was tracking because he had been in jail in New Jersey and had been deported to the Dominican Republic. So I told both the police here and the agency from outside that you all watch too many spy movies. They say, Prime Minister, we are serious. And the agency from overseas played a recording. And I heard the voice of the man from St. Vincent telling the man from the Dominican Republic, yes, I hear about that man from Puerto Rico. I hear he does do a clean job. I want him to do a clean job on Ralph. They're getting desperate. You see, it's not easy to be in opposition for 18 years and you're going to be there for 20 and then for another 5 years, you know.
Chatty, chatty, Montamasi, mix up. Why you no leave people business? Chatty, 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 chatty.
But the point about it is this. They mistaken if they believe that the Unity Labour Party is Ralph. The Unity Labour Party is bigger than Ralph. And the teachings which Ralph have put forward for the last 20 years and more in this country and for the Unity Labour Party will stand the test of time to keep such people from ever being associated to come to office. We have a lot of projects in the pipeline. The Mount Twin Peters Road project, the Peters Road Hotel is ongoing. The $50 million soft loan US from the Taiwanese, before the end of the year, Parliament will approve it. And we'll be building a 250-room hotel down at Mount Twin. We'll be building an airport hotel out at Diamond. All of them. Those, we have the financing arranged for those two. Mount Twin and the one at Diamond. Other people are interested in further hotel development. We are working steadily on the port in Kingston and the Anchor project, the acute referral hospital for the city out at Arnesville, to start that off. We are consolidating in education and health, expanding in sports and culture, and now the medical cannabis. You know, I am really amazed with the NDP. In the 1980s and 1990s, the NDP used to say that Ralph is representing all the ganja man them in the court. And how you could put a man, or you could elect a man like that. It's two things they used to say about me. One, I represent ganja man in court. And secondly, they say I'm a communist. You remember that? Well, the people them didn't pay any attention to them on either of those things. In 2001, when I came to office, in the middle of April, the gentleman from the United States Embassy in Barbados came to see me. If I recall his name properly, it was Mr. Patterson. He said to me that the previous government had organized for them in the month of April to spray the ganja in the hills. I said, sir, I hardly know the geography of my office yet. You come to me about spraying ganja? I said to him, before we agree to any spraying of ganja, you have to do two things for me. You have to give me the chemical properties of the spray, because I don't know if the spray was causing cancer to people. And the second thing I said, when you spray ganja, there's a collateral damage, because when the helicopters them come down, they blowing down the orange them and the grapefruit, and they blowing off the banana them and so on. Just like I say you do in Peru and in Colombia. They went back. They wrote me and said that the government owed them $63,000 US from the last spraying they had done. And they want that money. I called and tell them I wouldn't even answer the letter. Then Afghanistan and Iraq came in. And they didn't provide me with anything. So they, up to today, over the last 17 and a half years under this government, I ain't talking about people carrying propaganda. On not one single occasion did we have any American helicopter coming here. No spray plane coming here to spray ganja in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for the reasons which I've just gave. Not one. Stood up to them. And in 2009, when we did Vinci Park, we did Vinci Park after the month of May, when the ganja was reaped. I said the Vinci Park is to deal with the foreign criminals, especially who in the hills. Those are the ones. Let me flush them out. And you know, there was an incident down for a month where a Barbadian who was wanted for murder and robbery had a shootout with police. There was a coroner's inquest, And the coroner's jury said that the police acted perfectly in order. Remember the NDP had a vigil? Say Ralph did send police down there to kill people. You remember that? I just want to remind you, you know. And it is Ralph who in 2013 wrote the then chairman of CARICOM, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And when I did that and released the letter in 2013, they say Ralph want to free up ganja. I never talk about freeing up ganja. I talk about medical cannabis. The people are now talking about freeing up all ganja. Is the NDP? We are talking about building a medical cannabis industry. And I will read this letter in the debate tomorrow in Parliament, except to say I made it plain that I was calling for a sensible conversation and call for the Caribbean Commission. Is this letter which triggered the CARICOM Marijuana Commission. Marijuana has beneficial uses, but it can be misused and abused. So the thing is to have passed the law to provide a properly regulated medical cannabis industry. And also to make sure that a young man who has a spliff doesn't get jailed for a spliff. That other interventions would be used. And that we have to operate this industry within the framework of the international conventions. We have to work hard and smart with the medical cannabis industry. At the end of the medical cannabis rainbow, there is not a metaphoric pot of gold unless you do it smart and you work hard. And we have fashioned the law in a manner to do the best for St. Vincent and the Grenadines in this regard. And the churches and right-thinking people in the community agreeing in the manner, the measured manner in which we're approaching this question. Those who want to say free it up completely can go and do so. But you know and I know that while it has medicinal properties, it also can be misused and abused. So we have to regulate it properly through prescription from doctors. And we have to build an export industry because we don't have enough people inside of St. Vincent to build a viable industry on ganja. And we have to have health and wellness tourism, which relate to people who also want to come here to get treatment through medical cannabis. You understand how we're dealing with it practically? I want to tell you this. You see this manifesto in 2015? All what is inside of this, we are implementing. Because this is our contract with you, the voters. All of inside of here, we're implementing, and we have 5 years. They can make all kind of nice. They want to have earlier election. Now I hear they worried about that. We know that we didn't thief any election. We know that the elections were free and fair. But they can go ahead. It's not the first time they come with the story. They came with that after 2010. They tried to manufacture evidence in 2010 against me, personal, and it failed. And others. The New Democratic Party has no policies. They have no compelling developmental narrative. They are backward. They are selfish. And they have a very nasty side. Very, very nasty side. We have to stay away from them. And the NDP has no leadership. And we must not be afraid to talk about leadership. Leadership is important. Daniel was put in charge of the Persian Empire by the king because of his exceptional leadership qualities. And you need leadership with ideas and with energy. And you have to write. You have to express what you think about things. I leave in these here for the party between 2014 and now. These are 5 books by the comrade, you know. You hear me? And there's one now, a full-length one, which I'm writing, which I've finished writing, on the development of the political economy, of the trade union movement and the working class people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Over the Christmas season, I am going to do final editing to get it to the publishers early next year. Leadership which draws out of people that which is good in them and noble in them, and to draw out of people that which they do not as yet know that they possess. A leadership which is in communion with people. A leadership not which is perfect, but his very humanity, his very humanness makes it easy for him to connect with people without any hypocrisy. And it's not individual, it's collective. And this year, coming, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is likely to be elected as a non-permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations for the year 2021. Just over a week ago, as I was coming from Elmina Castle and Cape Coast Castle in Ghana, where we had a tour as to where the slaves were kept before they went past the door of no return. And I was exhausted by being at both castles mentally. I was distraught. And as we were traveling, and I fell asleep, Eloise woke me in the vehicle and said that the United Nations ambassador just called to say that the group of Latin America and the Caribbean, GRULAC, had just endorsed St. Vincent and the Grenadines as the only candidate to represent GRULAC at the Security Council for 2020-2021. At the very moment in Argentina where the G20 were meeting, richest 20 countries in the world, the ambassadors of the whole of Latin America and the Caribbean were endorsing St. Vincent and Grenadines, the smallest country ever to sit on the Security Council, assuming everything goes well in June next year. We began this campaign 10 years ago. We had no money.